Well, good morning, everybody. We're going to do a little bit of piggybacking on Glenn's video here, talking about the Great Reset. And I got some comments, Hopefully, we can just get this to him. I don't know, it's the third time I've done this to him. So let's hear what he's got to say.
Era of build, baby, build. And it all has to get done somehow with massive spending cuts, deregulation, and debt reduction. Now, if you can accomplish that all without tariffs, I'm on board. And I'll be the first one in line to preach about it and push for it. But as I showed you earlier, our debt, trade deficits, offshoring, it's hastening the downfall of both the dollar and our entire standard of living in our country in the end. Now, these are the top 10 countries that we have.
Not to mention the BRICS trying to find a way to settle in their own currencies, and the distributed ledger technologies cat is out of the bag. So, Trump's going out, doing all these trade deals, conducting peace and whatnot. This is part of the whole thesis that I even started with when I first started doing this. Like, we're heading towards this huge battle against the national debt to negotiate it down. Either you default on it and tell them all to go to hell, or you negotiate it down because you have other leverage.
Large trade deficit with China, 295 billion, Mexico. I mean, you can read these. It's pretty bad. India has 45 billion dollars. China is still the worst, but it was over 419 billion dollars before Trump's first term. Now, I wish I'd say things appear to be getting better, but most of those companies didn't come back home. They shifted to Mexico and Vietnam. Our trade deficit with Mexico was 70 billion at the start of Trump's first term. It's now over 172 billion dollars. That's why he's putting tariffs on Mexico. It's not just the border. They can't leave China and go there. It's similar with Vietnam, 38 billion in 2017, now 123 billion. It's not sustainable. The same thing happened to the greatest empire of the world at the end of the 18th century, and that country was China. The result was two wars, the Great Opium Wars, and it had everything to do with trade deficits. China have a name for that era. They call it the century of humiliation. Now, this is not economic jingoistic mumbo jumbo. Too many dollars going out, not enough money coming in, breaks empires. And it has happened that way over and over and over again. Speaking of China, a 90-day truce has been called, slashing tariffs for 3 months while we work on an agreement.
Because through their Belt and Road initiatives, they have literally screwed over a lot of these other nations. Giving them loans that they know they can't pay back, and they say, okay, give me your ports, give me your mineral rights, give me your all that. So all these countries that Trump teabagged, they didn't line up behind China because China's been screwing them over, and China got snubbed. So meanwhile, they tried to gin up that conflict with Pakistan and India to see how their weapons are going to work, because they know Taiwan has shifted tactics after watching Ukraine and realizing, oh, we can just make this more costly. And we are rearming the second island chain behind Japan, Taiwan, Philippines, basically from the Aleutians down to Guam, all those airfields that we got after World War II. We're rearming those, just so a hypersonic missile doesn't take out an aircraft carrier as it's going towards Taiwan. Might as well just use that second island chain as island aircraft carriers. So, he goes to the Middle East. Basically, it's the fuck Israel tour, because him and Netanyahu had the falling out. And they're isolating Iran. And Iran's a known... China finances Iran. And Iran finances the Houthis and Hamas. And it's all about not having them get a nuclear weapon. And all the Arab nations lined up behind Trump and said, yeah, we're going to back the secondary sanctions. But that's just the problem, is the idea of sanctions. See, it's almost like he's settling up all around the world, setting us up for the next 50 years while this system of leverage is still in place, in order to where by the time we get up to the debt fight, we have the new system ready to go. Ripple built a means of exchange, a method of payment, and a unit of account. XRP, XRPL, and RLUSD. And it's just a gumball machine. And all the other legal tenders, tokenized assets, whatever, is just another gumball in the gumball machine, all settling 3 to 5 seconds, distributed ledgers, sovereign nations can be validators, all that good stuff. And the units of accounts are backed and audited, which cuts out the fraud, which is how we got into this place in the first place.
Now, are the Chinese blinking? Let me show you what's actually happening in the lead up to China when they come to the table. You ready? Chinese factory activity tumbled to a 16-month low as tariffs shattered exports from China. The 6 largest banks in China reported a $1 billion profit drop. Unsustainable. Chinese workers now have begun protesting in China over unpaid wages because they can't pay anybody because nothing's coming in. The pressure is actually working. China had no choice but to come to the table. That's what the president said. And it works out. Now, did you see how China made preparations before meeting with the Trump administration over the weekend? Their central bank lowered rates and injected liquidity into their system. What did our Fed do? Jerome Powell? Nothing. They kept the rates the same and then yelled stagflation like Chicken Little. One side is trying to win this. I think there are too many people on the other side that are sabotaging because they believe in the Great Reset the other way. The global financial system is headed towards a major reset, and we need to become the smartest people in the room when this subject comes up. That means you.
Yes, it does. It's all about who the issuer is. If it's a central bank, we're in deep shit because they don't post any audits. They don't post any audits at all. And that's the problem. Nothing's backing this. That's how they're financing all of the evil coup-in or corruption or malinvestment because it's just a central bank. And all the central bank governors, they're all just the top banks out there. So, of course, they're going to help themselves to everything that's not nailed down. And we've gotten into wars over this shit for the past 60 years. And he's about ready to go through on the chalkboard, walking on down through the whole history of monetary policy for the last 60 years. So it's all about who the issuer is. Now, if it's a private company, that means you have civil protection. You have criminal protection for deprivation of rights and discrimination. They can't just turn your money off because it's a blockchain and there's no wiggle room in a court for that. They know they did that. But the central bank, they debank conservatives. The people want to bitch about the NWO. We're fucking living under it. It only matters if you're political. Like the January 6th people or the Ice Road truckers. I don't know how many times I have to keep repeating this.
You and me, we need to be watching things like treasury yields. Oh my gosh, does that sound boring? We need to be watching gold prices. We need to be watching what products are actually coming back home and which ones are running to places like India, Mexico, and Vietnam. But we also need to understand how we got here in the first place. The global economic system has undergone multiple great resets all throughout history. Every time one happens, we take a step closer to the dumpster fire that we are currently standing in. Let me take you to the chalkboard in just a minute.
Thank God there's a technological progression here to where we can end the cycle through distributed ledgers, through people having legal tenders that are all backed by something on the blockchain, whether it's gold, oil, reserves, real estate, securities, whatever it is, as long as there's something tying it to the physical world. Because without that, we have a money printer. And you see the dark hearts of humanity fester and create this problem that we're in.
We start now with a deep dive into the biggest financial con game in history. I don't know when they figured it out, but they know now. It's a long story, but all throughout history, there have been multiple economic great resets that have pushed us to the edge of financial cliff, and it explains exactly how we're at the place we are now. From Bretton Woods to the World's Economic Forum, the latest scheme, every step has been deliberate to move control of your money, your freedom, your future. Okay. Now here's the potential good news. We're at a crossroads right now, and the Trump administration is the only one that is recognizing this and giving an option. It might be the last hope for a real great reset, one that doesn't enslave you like the one pushed by the UN, Davos, and progressives, but one that will put you back in charge. So let me just show you the history. 1944, we come out of the war, 45, and everything is fantastic. I mean, America rules the world now, and everybody had sent us their gold during the war because they needed our armaments, they needed our planes and everything else. So we're sitting on a giant pile of gold, and we decided to tell the rest of the world, cash is king. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to keep all the gold, but we will give you cash if you base your whole economy on the US dollar. So it was $35 per ounce tied to gold. All currencies were pegged to the dollar. We printed money, and we ran trade deficits, and we started to bleed gold because some countries were demanding that they had gold, and we were also selling gold, and it got to be really bad towards the end around 1971. That got so bad. Did you even know that France had a navy? France sends their navy, their warships, to the harbor of New York City. Like, give us our gold. And we're like, that's funny, you and a warship. But we actually gave them their gold because they demanded, because Nixon, it's called the Nixon shock. Nixon in 1971 decides Bretton Woods no longer works. Why? Because we wanted money for the Great Society, and we wanted the money for the Great War and that war machine. So we decided we're gonna have everybody's currency float here. It's not gonna be on gold. Well, that's when everybody was like, oh, we will get our gold because your money is going to be worth doggy poo poo. And so we knew that it was over. The game was over. That's why we went to the Saudis and said, hey, would you guys peg oil to the dollar and make sure everybody have a dollar to buy oil? And they said, sure. It's going to come with some strings that you're not going to like later. But we started printing money. We had huge deficits, and we were chained now to debt.
Side note, Trump's trade deal with them did not re-solidify that understanding, that it's all going to be settled in Federal Reserve notes. Nobody else caught that. I caught that. And remember, last year, they said they were going to do away with the dollar for oil standard, and they didn't renew it because they were part of Project Enbridge, which was all the central banks getting together and figuring out a peer-to-peer network over blockchain. And guess who was there helping them do it? It was Ripple. And central bank digital currencies are banned here. So, what's there to fill the void? Maybe it's the guys that helped build the system.
And the collapse comes 2008 to 2014, the great collapse and quantitative easing. What is that? Money printing. No, we'll never print money. Yeah, well, you did. You just digitized it. Money printing, debt, trade imbalances. Now look at this. So what happens? Printing money, trade deficits, huge deficits, trade imbalances. You see what all of the negatives, they're all building to one thing, where we're at now. Then COVID and the WEF, they had already put into plan by 2016, 2017. They were working hard on the Great Reset. So we came up with stakeholder capitalism, not shareholder, stakeholder. You don't understand this, just go read one of my books on the Great Reset. But they're tying all of this, not to this problem. They were saying we had to have a Great Reset because the sky is going to be set on fire and all our trees will drown along with us in that fire because of global warming or whatever. They were using this instead of telling you the truth. And they were pushing towards digital currencies, debt, trade deficits, and serfdom. Okay, now here we are at the new era. To solve this, what did I tell you earlier? We needed trade imbalances. We need to stop that. Debt at 36 trillion. We have to stop that. Fed manipulation. We got to stop that. And dollar needs to reign supreme.
Well, hey, we got a solution for you, fella. Because to fix all of that, you have to get rid of the Federal Reserve System, number one. And what's the replacement? Ripple, as a company, has built a financial system from the unit of account to the means of exchange to the method of payment. Okay? And like I said before, the unit of account is linked to tokenized assets, whether that's treasury bills and some Federal Reserve notes now. But as we move out of the way of Federal Reserve notes, that can be replaced practically instantly with tokenized whatever else in order to link it to the physical world. And that can just be declared as legal tender. And then it transitions to whatever other currency through the means of exchange, which is XRP, that can settle into any other currency or tokenized asset within 3 to 5 seconds. Over the method of payment, which is the XRPL, which is a distributed ledger, so that way everybody's on the same page and it's all on blockchain. You can do that for all government accounts as well. This is the solution. This is the solution to getting out of this mess. And we're waiting right now for the Genius, Stable, FIT21, any other market structure bills to be passed and to be implemented. And once this new system is up and running, then you can negotiate down the debt that's denominated in Federal Reserve notes and perhaps have an exchange rate to get into the new system.
Okay. So this is really where we're at this point. The things that have happened over the last 80 years, 90 years, two things took a major steroid shot: debt and trade imbalances. Okay? This has to change. It's a new era right now. A great reset is coming. And we have a real shot to deliver a great reset. The one that I think, and honestly, if we weren't playing politics all the time, I think everybody would say that's the one we deserve. The one that puts the people in charge, not these elites. Okay? The one that puts America first. I want you to put your country first, but we have to put ours first because we have downside.
Yeah, it's an American company that produced this. And, you know, the SEC fine that they could pay because they were targeted in 2020 as Trump was leaving office to stop this because it's the actual threat to the SWIFT system, to the dollar leverage system, to all of this. It's the actual threat because they actually built a new financial system. We can get out of this with an American company. And when you deploy XRP into a liquidity pool, which is basically a pool creating deep liquidity for trading between sovereign nations or institutions to facilitate more transactions and the velocity of money, you could take a yield from it. So the ERS, the External Revenue Service, could deploy that as that XRP that Ripple's probably going to pay to the strategic stockpile can be deployed and we start making yields. This all just makes complete and perfect sense. And we need to get political about it to get this done. Because we're all sick and tired of this fucking system. Sick and tired of living under it. There's no point. There's not even point in trying. We're constantly on a inflationary treadmill. Every year, by target, it's 2% inflation. That means you got to run 2% faster every year to outrun inflation. You got to work 2% harder. But we all know that 2% is bullshit. It's way higher. Way higher. And it's gone astronomical in the last 4 years. And they destroyed our nation. They poisoned our people. They caused an invasion. You know, they're doing treason right now. And hope to God, Trump moving up to this debt fight where all of these things are coming to a head, he can just say, you know what, if you guys don't want to play ball, we got you on the fraud, the treason, the blackmail, the COVID, the stolen elections. Fuck you. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do Alien Sedition, Insurrection Act, invoke some war powers, and just get it done. Because these Congress people are all blackmailed. And they're working against the national interest. And they all need to be investigated. So Doge has gone in, cleaned up a lot of the systems, updated a bunch of stuff, working with Bessett. And Bessett said, heading toward a new Bretton Woods. Okay, how are we going to settle? That's the question everybody needs to be asking. And there's only one company that built a full fucking system.
And make sure everything is local. So we have to solve 4 big issues, and the models show that trade imbalances and debt will rapidly contribute to the economic Armageddon. Trade imbalances have to be addressed. Has nothing to do with jingoism and pride. We have to solve this. The debt crisis, $36 trillion. And what is Congress doing? Nothing. The manipulations from the Federal Reserve have got to be fixed. I don't know how this is ever going to happen, but we don't survive, another 2008-2014 QE bonanza. We just don't. And the dollar has to be reigning supreme. This means the dollar.
And that means you do that with stable coins as a legal tender. Okay? The dollar is whatever is legal tender at that moment. Right now it's Federal Reserve notes. It can be designated something else. Glenn, finish the journalism.
Dollar that is currently operating, it operates strategically, not based off of massive money printing, or fueling inflation, trade deficits, but off of strength and actual value. Now, this is what we have a real shot of accomplishing now, but we have to be the smartest people in the room when this comes up. We want the smartest people in the room, and I think we have them in Washington, right? Working on this, and I don't include...
Yeah, Brad's there. He knows Trump. They had dinner together.
Hill is that, but we need the smartest people. But we have to be the smart. We have to be able to explain this to our friends and defend it. We have to be able to demand this and be able to explain it to our friends and neighbors so they can demand it. And when the dust settles, hopefully, we will come out better on the other side.
Yeah, and I've been yelling about it for quite a while now, buddy. And that's just the problem here, folks. That's just the problem. Hopefully we can get this to him. And I don't know. You may take a look at it, you may not. But either way, my comments are of record. I finished the journalism for you, Glenn. Get behind Ripple so we can get this fucking done and we can get on with our lives.